welcome to another edition of What Ranch Hobbies and Crafts. You know, I'm having fun with my education on this CNC router. I've got the Phantom SCV 4x4. It's a really nice unit. I'm having so much fun with it. And I'm using Vectric Aspire as my software. I've had some comments that people are saying that Vectric Aspire is a little bit spendy, but given the fact that I have an Adobe Cloud subscription that costs me $100 a month for 3 programs, I think that every 20 months I would pay for another Vectric Aspire. So I was happy to pay the one-time fee and have the capabilities to do so much more than VCarve allows. I noticed that Aspire has the ability to do things like slices, so that if you get into creating three-dimensional work that's too deep for your gantry, you can slice it up and do it in multiple passes, multiple pieces of wood. And that sounds very exciting. I'm not quite ready to get that far into it. Right now, I just am still fascinated by the double-sided carving, and I've got an artwork project that I want to get started on today. So if you'd like to follow along, that's all I'm doing is recording so that you can watch, maybe learn something, maybe learn to avoid something. Anyway, welcome aboard and let's go. Before we get started on today's double-sided artwork project, I just wanted to show off how I've been doing with the platters that I've showed in an earlier video where I was struggling with getting the depth right and everything. I think we're on it now. These are coming out great. Just beautiful. And then I still want to be able to engrave the back. I'm going to do some three-dimensional engraving or some wording. We'll see. We'll play with that in another video. But let's clear this out, get this ready to go for another day of carving. Today's challenge is working with a much smaller piece, so it's even more critical that I get both sides exactly centered. All right, I have my center marks on both sides, as close as I could get by measuring the distance and crossing to get the X here, and doing the same on this side to get the X or the center point there. And make it this way. I'm just using a standard drywall screw. I know my 1/8 inch blade is going to come out to not past this line. You can't see that. It's not going to come past this line, so keeping my screws very far away, we should be all right. One thing I do want to do is recess these just a little bit. I don't want to hit any metal, so. I am using 2 bits. I'll use 3 bits actually today, but for shaping, I'm going to use the 1/8 inch ball nose. And then for finishing, I'll use a 32nd tapered. As you can see, that's a very fine bit, and that'll give us a lot of details. So for finding my 0, I don't need to lock this piece in. I just want to use my point so I can get as precise as I can. Looks pretty good. So we'll set X and Y coordinates to 0 there, and bring it up. And then I'll change this one out with my 1/8 inch ball nose. Now, I know that if I set my Z0 to this point here, after the ball nose comes through and clears all this out, I'm not going to have any way to measure what that 0 was again. So what I'll do is I will back it up and take my 0 over here, because I'm not going to be cutting out there, and that way when I get done with this, I can re-0 here, and it'll be whatever it has done here. It will be at the same measurement there. Okay, we now know that we are, by coming back to workplace origin, on this button here. We're going to start there. So let's clear the deck and get all our stuff out of the way. So I have set X, Y, and Z to 0. I'm going to come up now and put my dust hood on. I'll put us on time lapse just to have the recording. I don't know if you'll be able to see anything or not, because with the dust hood you can't really see what's going on. Let's go ahead and run the first half of this. You're not going to be able to see this, but anyway, I go File, OK, U-Disk File, and I'm going to take the rough 1/8 inch ball and say OK, so we're ready to run. So let's go to time lapse. There's the side A, and looks like I'll be doing a lot of cleanup as far as sanding goes, but I can deal with that. This is a good test. And now it's time to turn it over. And there we have both sides cut. It's a little bit smaller than I thought. I thought 8 inches would be big enough, but I think it's a little bit small for the handle. But again, this is a test piece to see how it's going to work out. And I think the next one I'll probably make more like 10 inches so that there's enough handle room here. But now the big question, did we get this centered right? I think it looks pretty good because on the other one, this edge was about that close and that edge had blown out on that side as well. So I think we're right on. It's time to run the 1/8 inch now and cut this out, and we'll see how we did. All right, well, I think that came out beautiful, but really like the concept. I think there's a lot of things that, a lot of variations on this theme that I can go with. All right, so let's look at making a thicker one. I have this scrap piece of maple, 1.25 inches thick. I'm gonna make this one 12 inches long, considerably thicker than the first one that I did. My spoil board could use a re-scrubbing. Maybe I'll do a flattener on that one of these days for a video, but this will be fine. So I'm just going to mount this board down, and then we'll cut out the larger, thicker athame and see how that goes. Well, there's the cost of doing business. Broke a bit. That's too bad. I don't think I have another 1/8 inch mill. I can do this with a 1/4 inch, but man, oh, I see what happened. I hit the screw. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. Well, that's the cost of doing business, I guess. Take this screw out and I'll move it over here. See if we can do this with a 1/4 inch. Darn it. Oh, that worked. Lesson to you kids out there. If you're using metal on these things, I mean, I hate using metal, but sometimes on these little pieces, there's no other way to really hold that down. Anyway, we've solved the problem. Luckily, I have enough bits around here that I can figure something out. I like this. This is really, really nice. And there's the rough blank. Still a lot of sanding to go. I'm happy with the braid. I think on the moon, I'm gonna bring that up higher so I can sand it down, because I can hit that sand pretty good on that and not lose detail, but I'm starting to lose detail on the moon. This symbol here is for health, and the one on the back is for healing. Sure is fun, and I like the size of this. That fits, and it's hefty. If you've watched my earlier videos, you'll recognize that I've brought us down to the temple. I built a temple with the express purpose of allowing my art to be released from me, my energy, and give the wood back to its own energy. I will leave this overnight and let the moonlight play with it for a little bit. This is my three-piece athame, maiden, mother, crone. And they are symbolic of our grandmother's use of digging sticks to collect herbs for healing. These are my dedication to the Divine Feminine.